with B2B marketing, you've really only got one option, and that is outbound marketing. So when people talk about B2B marketing, they're really talking about reaching out to people versus inbound marketing, which is your traditional, SEO, paid ads on Google, that sort of thing. So, it's not rocket science. I'm not here to, paint it any other way. There's really only two ways that you can get this business out there. And well, there's three. So one is branding, do a lot of content marketing, but you run the risk of putting so much energy and effort into content marketing, like the proponents like Gary Vee would talk about, that your industry, being the mining industry, is such a niche industry, right? Even though it's a big business, big industry, those people are not on social media all day long, right? So the amount of content that you would produce, it would be very hard for them to see that organically. Does that make sense? And then to the right decision makers, like it's even harder again to go, well, how do we create that content, whether it's on YouTube, LinkedIn, your traditional B2B social channels, but how do you ensure that they even see the 2 or 3 posts that you do a day to the right people, right? So that's why I didn't recommend content marketing as a mix in the strategy. So I left that out. So that's one way, right? Branding and content marketing. The second way is, what I started off with. You've got your traditional advertising, B2B marketing would be Google Ads, right? For people looking for some sort of B2B service with SEO. Now, the challenge with both of those, again, your industry is so niche, you're not having thousands of searches for that a day, right? And that's the challenge. And so that's why I recommended in my business plan, in my marketing plan, with your B2B approach, like you've got to think of it like it's a BDM. So a BDM would get on the phone and cold call and hustle and talk to people and connect with people. And so at that point, it becomes a numbers game, right? And so you've got to think of the B2B outreach system that we develop with LinkedIn as that. It's like a BDM that's going to tick along all the time with automation, reaching out to the right people on LinkedIn, having a conversation, hooking them up with someone to, do a call with, and bang, away you go. So that's what I would recommend. So there's 2 parts to that. As you can see, there's the building of the thing, right? So it's like if you wanted to do SEO, you need to build a website for SEO. So with our B2B marketing system, we build that out using LinkedIn. There's a few different tools that we automate all of that. We do the copywriting, we do the strategic approach and the framework with you, and we build that all out. Now, once it's built, it's yours. It's the company's, they own it. It's in their tools, in their systems that we develop. But if you want us to manage it on an ongoing basis, then there's a small management fee every month for us to upload the new contacts. Because of the way the B2B system works, you've got to be really careful that LinkedIn doesn't know you're using automation. Because if you stuff 1,000 people into automation, then the LinkedIn algorithm sees that, knows that, then your LinkedIn profile gets shut down, right? So the real trick to this automation is to make it look as human as possible. So you can't just download 1,000 contacts from Sales Navigator, chuck them in the automation, and then the automation reaches out to 1,000 people a day, because the algorithm knows that, the person's not going to do 1,000 a day. So it's more like a drip than a fire hose. 20 or 30 reach outs a day, liking people's posts, reaching out to them, adding new connections, adding conversations, but it's done through automation versus someone manually doing it, right? And so when I talk to people like yourself and they say how fantastic their product is, a lot of that sort of stuff you need to bring up front, because that's a really important distinction for your potential client, right? They want to cut costs. I would, and it'll be in the quote, but I just want to make it super clear. The strategy would be direct outreach using LinkedIn automation. You're obviously doing a little bit of SEO. I'd encourage, to keep doing that. We're happy to take that on board and do that as part of our package. But the whole strategy hinges on reaching out to people, increasing your website traffic, and then retargeting those people, right, through what we call open web advertising or programmatic. And so what that means is that as you're doing that direct outreach, let's say it's 200 people a week, right? There's going to be there's going to be about 150 of those that'll click through and have a look at the website. For whatever reason, they don't fill out a form straight away. 8% of people only fill out a form on a website anyway. So the bounce rate across all industries is about 85 to 92%. So what that means is that less than 10% of people who actually visit your page will fill out a website form, right? Now, the other 90% bounce off. So if you don't have some sort of way to track them on the internet and stay front of mind, they'll forget about you. So the whole idea behind my strategy and the way that we do things is we want to go direct to the audience, and then we want to retarget that audience once they've visited the site. And so that's why I'm recommending doing the direct outreach with SEO and maybe with a top-up of paid ads, but then do the retargeting on the open web to those people already, right? Because you've already spent your time and effort and energy getting them to the website, and you want to keep following them around until they have that conversation. Yeah, it's a long buying cycle, right? Yeah, and the other thing, you made a distinct comment before about, when you get in front of them. I would also include as part of, our strategy of doing your email and SMS marketing to create a workflow of sorts so that when someone does book in a time with you or they do fill out a contact form, they go into a sequence where they get their FAQs, they get the video to watch, they get the benefits sent to them over the period of, a couple of days before they speak to someone, so that they are primed and in a better space, even though they're, engineers and they know it all. And, it just puts you guys in a better position going into the meeting. Yeah. And it looks like you've got a lot of resources or you can get your hands on a lot of resources if needed as well. So, that sort of sequence to the first, the first 2 weeks is critical, right? The first 14 days when someone fills out that form, like you said, it's a long lead cycle. So the first 14 days would be that initial injection or initial hit, if you like. And then it would stagger out depending on what your buying cycle is. You might say to me, well, look, usually we convert 3 to 4 months, or it could be 6 months. And so the strategy would be first 2 weeks, probably 4 or 5 touch points over 2 weeks. It could be 2 emails, 1 SMS and 1 email over those 2 week period. And then we just back it off. It could be like 1 email a week for the next 4 weeks, 12 weeks or 16 weeks, whatever that process is based on the strategy.